If you're still using the same skincare actives you relied on in your 30s, you're probably not getting the results you expect, and there's a biological reason why.
Collagen production is down by a quarter. Your barrier function is weaker. The actives that worked a decade ago simply aren't strong enough anymore. My name is Marcus Vance, and I've spent years digging into what actually moves the needle for mature skin.
You're listening to Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. Quick note before we dive in. Everything you're about to hear, the research, the data, the script, is written and verified by real people who know this stuff inside out. The voice you're hearing, though, that's AI generated, which lets us get episodes out to you faster and more consistently. Just wanted to be upfront about that. I'm really glad you're here, especially if you've been listening for a while. Having regular listeners makes this whole thing worthwhile. And if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. We're all about beauty that actually works without the luxury price tag. New episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you've got a regular flow of actionable information. All right, here's what we've got lined up for you today.
Your skin after 50 operates under different rules. Cell turnover drops by 30 to 50%, collagen synthesis slows to a crawl, and barrier function weakens. The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 aren't the same compounds that worked in your 30s. You need heavier-duty actives that compensate for declining biological performance. This is about return on investment on your face, targeted compounds that deliver measurable architecture improvements, not vanity serums that feel nice but do nothing. Now, let's talk about what makes aging skin over 50 different in the first place. After 50, your skin isn't just aging faster, it's fundamentally restructured. Collagen production drops approximately 1% per year after age 25, meaning by 50, you've lost roughly 25% of your structural protein. Dermal thickness decreases by 6% per decade. Sebum production drops 10 to 20%, weakening your lipid barrier. These aren't cosmetic concerns. They're mechanical failures that require mechanical solutions. Hyaluronic acid synthesis declines. Your skin retains less water. Elastin fibers fragment. UV damage accumulates in the dermal layer as solar elastosis. If you're treating 50-plus skin with the same lightweight peptide serums and 0.25% retinols you used at 35, you're underdosing. The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 must work harder because your cellular machinery is operating at reduced capacity. The good news? Mature skin responds predictably to clinical-grade actives. You're not fighting hormonal fluctuations or acne. You're rebuilding barrier function, accelerating cell turnover, and forcing collagen synthesis through external signaling. It's maintenance engineering, not guesswork. Men often see faster results than women in this age bracket because we start from a thicker baseline. Dermal density averages 20% higher in male skin. But the same actives work across genders. You just need the right concentrations and the patience to run the protocol for 12 to 16 weeks before judging results. So how do anti-aging actives work on mature skin? The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 operate through three mechanisms: cell turnover acceleration, collagen signal amplification, and barrier fortification. Each targets a different layer of age-related decline.
Retinoids, that's retinol, retinaldehyde, tretinoin, bind to retinoic acid receptors in the nucleus, upregulating genes responsible for collagen synthesis and cell division. Tretinoin at 0.025 to 0.1% is the gold standard. It's prescription strength and delivers the fastest results. Retinaldehyde converts to retinoic acid in one enzymatic step versus retinol's two-step conversion, making it roughly 10 times more efficient. Budget option, the ordinary retinol 1% in squalene delivers 1% encapsulated retinol in a squalene base for around $10 per 30 milliliters. Check the show notes for a link to the current price. The downside? Encapsulation slows penetration, so you're trading speed for tolerability. For mature skin, I prefer retinaldehyde at 0.05 to 0.1%. It's faster and less irritating than high-dose retinol. Look for formulations from Avane or Geek & Gorgeous, both manufactured in Europe with pharmaceutical-grade quality control. Vitamin C, L-ascorbic acid, ascorbyl glucoside, tetrahexyl desacorbate, inhibits tyrosinase, which is melanin formation, and acts as a cofactor for collagen synthesis enzymes. L-ascorbic acid at 10 to 20% is the most clinically validated form, but it's pH dependent. It requires pH 2.5 to 3.5 and oxidizes quickly. Tetrahexyl desacorbate, or THD, is oil-soluble, stable, and penetrates deeper without the low pH irritation, ideal for barrier-compromised 50-plus skin. SkinCeuticals CE Ferulic is the benchmark. It's got 15% L-ascorbic acid, 1% vitamin E, 0.5% ferulic acid. But Timeless Vitamin C plus E Ferulic delivers a nearly identical formulation at roughly 1/5 the price per ounce. The Timeless serum oxidizes faster because it lacks the proprietary packaging, so you'll replace it every 6 to 8 weeks instead of 12. Peptides are signaling molecules that tell fibroblasts to produce collagen, elastin, or glycosaminoglycans. Matrix 3000, that's palmitoyl tetrapeptide 7 and palmitoyl oligopeptide, at 3 to 5% has the strongest clinical backing for wrinkle depth reduction. Argireline, acetyl hexapeptide 8, at 5 to 10%, inhibits muscle contraction. Think topical Botox, but weaker and slower. GHK-Cu, copper peptide, at 1 to 2%, accelerates wound healing and collagen remodeling. The problem? Peptides are large molecules, 500 to 1500 Daltons, and they penetrate poorly unless delivered in liposomal carriers or combined with penetration enhancers. The ordinary buffet plus copper peptides 1% includes GHK-Cu plus 4 additional peptides for around $30 per 30 milliliters, making it the most cost-efficient multi-peptide serum available. The catch? It pills under sunscreen and layers poorly with silicones.
Niacinamide, vitamin B3, at 4 to 5% strengthens barrier function by increasing ceramide synthesis, reduces inflammation, and inhibits melanosome transfer, which lightens hyperpigmentation. It's one of the few actives that becomes more effective on mature skin because barrier dysfunction amplifies its benefits. CeraVe PM Facial Moisturizer contains 4% niacinamide, ceramides, and hyaluronic acid for around $15 per 3 ounces. It's manufactured in the US by L'Oreal with identical quality standards to their luxury brands. Mature skin tolerates actives differently. Your barrier is weaker, so irritation thresholds drop. But your skin is also less reactive hormonally, so you're less likely to purge or break out during retinoid initiation. Start low, ramp slow, but don't stay conservative forever. You need clinical doses to see clinical results. Moving on to why concentration and formulation matter after 50. A 0.5% retinol serum might maintain your skin at 35. At 55, it's maintenance theater. You're not moving the needle. The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 require threshold concentrations to trigger biological response. Below that threshold, you're wasting product. Retinoids need 0.3% minimum to upregulate collagen genes meaningfully. Vitamin C requires 8 to 10% L-ascorbic acid, or equivalent in derivatives, to saturate ascorbate pathways. Niacinamide shows dose-dependent benefits from 2 to 10%, with optimal barrier repair at 4 to 5%. Peptides depend on molecular weight and delivery system. Matricil 3000 at 3% delivers measurable results. At 1%, it's cosmetic. Formulation vehicles matter as much as active percentage. Anhydrous waterless bases, deliver higher active stability and penetration. Squalene, caprylic capric triglyceride, and silicone carriers all work. Cream bases with emulsifiers and preservatives dilute active concentration and introduce irritation variables. For retinoids, look for airless pump packaging in opaque bottles. Light and oxygen degrade potency by 50% in 12 weeks if stored in a dropper bottle. pH compatibility is critical when layering actives. L-ascorbic acid serums, pH 2.5 to 3.5, will deactivate niacinamide, optimal pH 5 to 7 if applied simultaneously. Retinoids work best at pH 5.5 to 6.0.
AHAs require pH 3 to 4. The solution? Apply acids in the morning, vitamin C, AHAs, and retinoids at night, or separate by 20 to 30 minutes to allow pH stabilization between layers.
Price per ounce analysis reveals where you're overpaying for packaging. Paula's Choice 1% retinol treatment costs around $60 per 1 ounce. The ordinary retinol 1% in squalane costs around $10 per 1 ounce. Both use 1% pure retinol. The difference? Paula's Choice includes additional peptides and antioxidants. The ordinary is bare bones. For mature skin prioritizing retinoid efficacy over supporting ingredients, the budget option wins. Spend the $50 savings on a separate peptide serum and sunscreen upgrades. Let's get into the types and delivery systems for mature skin actives. The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 come in multiple forms, each with trade-offs in stability, penetration, and irritation profile. Retinoids, in order of effectiveness: tretinoin, that's retin-A, prescription, then retinaldehyde, Avene A-oxidative, Geek and Gorgeous A-Game 5, then retinol, the ordinary, Paula's Choice, then retinil palmitate, which is underdosed, skip it. Tretinoin delivers fastest results but requires prescription and causes most irritation. Retinaldehyde is the sweet spot for mature skin. High efficacy, lower irritation, available over the counter in 0.05 to 0.1% concentrations. Avoid time-release or encapsulated retinols after 50 unless your barrier is severely compromised. You're slowing delivery when you need faster action. Vitamin C derivatives in order: L-ascorbic acid 15 to 20%, pH 2.5 to 3.5, then tetrahexyl decyl ascorbate THD 5 to 10%, oil soluble, then ascorbyl glucoside 10 to 30%, stable but slower conversion, then sodium ascorbyl phosphate SAP 10 to 20%, weak penetration. For 50-plus skin, THD in an anhydrous base delivers best results with least irritation. It penetrates deeper and doesn't require the low pH that strips weakened barriers. Geek and Gorgeous Sea Glow uses 15% L-ascorbic acid with ethoxydiglycol as penetration enhancer, around $15 for 30 milliliters, manufactured in Hungary with cosmetic-grade purity testing. Peptide complexes: Matrixyl 3000 for collagen synthesis, plus argireline for expression lines, plus GHKCU for remodeling is the trifecta for mature skin. The ordinary buffet stacks 5 peptides but lacks copper. Buffet plus copper peptides adds GHKCU but pills under makeup. The InKey-List collagen peptide serum uses 1% Matrixyl 3000 at around $15 for 30 milliliters, with a silicone-free base that layers cleanly.
Growth factors and exosomes. Bioregenerative actives like EGF, epidermal growth factor, KGF, keratinocyte growth factor, and plant stem cell extracts accelerate cell turnover and wound healing. They're expensive. Genuine EGF serums start around $80 per ounce, but they deliver measurable plumping and texture improvement in 4 to 6 weeks. Budget alternative: bakuchiol at 0.5 to 2% mimics retinoid receptor activation without the irritation. The InKey-List bakuchiol moisturizer delivers 1% bakuchiol for around $12 per 1 ounce. It's slower than retinoids but gentler on compromised barriers. Delivery systems include liposomal encapsulation, that's phospholipid vesicles that fuse with cell membranes, nanoparticle carriers, which penetrate deeper but raise absorption questions, anhydrous bases for maximum stability with no preservatives, and cream emulsions for easier application but diluted actives. For retinoids and peptides, liposomal delivery reduces irritation but slows results. For vitamin C, anhydrous is non-negotiable for stability. Now, let's cover some frequently asked questions. What percentage of retinol is best for aging skin over 50? For aging skin over 50, 0.5 to 1% retinol is the effective starting range, with 1% delivering optimal results if your barrier tolerates it. However, retinaldehyde at 0.05 to 0.1% or prescription tretinoin at 0.025 to 0.05% outperforms high-dose retinol because they convert to retinoic acid faster and require lower concentrations to achieve the same gene upregulation. Start at 0.3 to 0.5% retinol or 0.025% tretinoin twice weekly, then increase frequency over 6 to 8 weeks until you can apply nightly without flaking or irritation. Can you use vitamin C and retinol together after 50? Yes, but apply them at different times. Vitamin C in the morning, retinol at night, because L-ascorbic acid requires pH 2.5 to 3.5 and retinol works best at pH 5.5 to 6.5, and layering them simultaneously deactivates both actives. If you prefer same-session application, use a stable vitamin C derivative like tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate, THD, or ascorbyl glucoside, which function at neutral pH and won't interfere with retinoid conversion. Wait 20 to 30 minutes between layers to allow pH stabilization, or use a pH-adjusting toner between steps. What is the most important ingredient for aging skin over 50?
Tretinoin, prescription retinoid or retinaldehyde, is the single most important ingredient for aging skin over 50 because it's the only active with decades of clinical evidence showing it reverses photo damage, increases collagen synthesis, and reduces wrinkle depth at the dermal level. Vitamin C and peptides support collagen production and barrier function, but retinoids directly upregulate the genetic pathways that slow during aging, making them the non-negotiable foundation of any evidence-based anti-aging protocol. How long does it take to see results from anti-aging ingredients after 50? Expect 12 to 16 weeks minimum for visible improvements from retinoids, peptides, and vitamin C on mature skin over 50, with full results taking 6 to 9 months of consistent application. Barrier repair ingredients like niacinamide and ceramides show hydration improvements in 2 to 4 weeks, but structural changes, collagen remodeling, pigmentation fading, wrinkle depth reduction require multiple skin turnover cycles to manifest. Mature skin turns over every 45 to 60 days versus 28 days in younger skin, so double your timeline expectations compared to results you saw in your 30s. Should men over 50 use different anti-aging ingredients than women? No, men and women over 50 benefit from identical anti-aging ingredients, retinoids, vitamin C, peptides, and niacinamide, because collagen loss, barrier weakening, and UV damage affect both sexes through the same biological pathways. Men's skin is approximately 20% thicker with higher collagen density, which means men may tolerate higher active concentrations, 1% retinol or 0.025% tretinoin, with less irritation, and may see faster visible improvements due to more robust dermal structure, but the active ingredients and mechanisms remain the same regardless of gender. Here's the summary. The best ingredients for aging skin over 50 are retinoids, 0.5 to 1% retinol or 0.025 to 0.1% tretinoin, vitamin C, 10 to 20% L-ascorbic acid or 5 to 10% THD, peptides, 3 to 5% matrix cell 3000 or 1 to 2% GHK-Cu, and barrier support actives, 4 to 5% niacinamide, ceramides. These aren't suggestions, they're the only compounds with clinical evidence showing they reverse structural aging in mature skin. You need threshold concentrations to trigger biological response. Underdosed serums waste your money and time. Start with barrier repair, niacinamide ceramides for 2 to 4 weeks, then introduce retinoids at low frequency, twice weekly, and finally layer vitamin C and peptides once your skin tolerates the retinoid without flaking. Expect 12 to 16 weeks before you see measurable texture improvement and 6 to 9 months for collagen remodeling to show in wrinkle depth.
Budget formulations from The Ordinary, Geek and Gorgeous, CeraVe, and Timeless deliver clinical-grade actives at 1/5 the price of prestige brands. You're paying for ingredients, not packaging. Run the protocol consistently. Measure results at 16-week intervals and adjust concentrations based on tolerance. Your skin at 50 responds predictably to chemistry. Give it the right inputs and it will rebuild. This is maintenance work. Treat it like any other discipline that pays long-term dividends.
That wraps up this episode of Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. Really appreciate you spending this time with me today. Just a reminder, new episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so there's always something fresh coming your way. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love it if you could leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It genuinely makes a difference because it helps other people who are searching for this kind of information actually find the show. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode goes live. Talk to you next time.